that was good.
Good evening. So welcome to Backseat Drivers number 12 for 2024, the Belgium Grand Prix review video. Just kicking it off, I'd like to say, believe it or not, that wasn't done by a professional agency, the start screen. That was done by our very own in-house Matt.
Thank you. I stand by everything I made. And I think Zach's going to play that when they win at the end of the year or in about 3 races' time.
Yeah. And just if everyone else is wondering what the hell's going on the other screen there, Boovie's going to show us making a Lego tonight while Matt asks his normal questions.
Also, Dave, before we start, everyone's probably wondering, I have it. Here's the extra 1.5 kilos. I had it the whole time. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to start building.
I suppose the big question, did George dob himself in? You know how he takes notes? Like, Lando cut this corner on lap 34, Max did this, Lewis is doing this. Did he go, by the way, my car's 1.5 kilos underweight? Crap, I wasn't supposed to tell anyone that.
I feel like they knew. They all knew.
They've changed the paper now. These used to be plastic.
Oh.
Well, that's
more environmentally friendly.
Yeah, environmentally friendly.
Lewis would be proud.
Does that anger a Boovie?
Dave, I reckon they knew as soon as they. Well, I heard that because they don't have the outlap, they don't have a chance to pick up extra rubber, right?
They're not going to pick up 1.5 kilos of rubber.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not like Toto and George have never been to Spa before and don't realize this. Like, they didn't do the race.
But, see, if they would do their normal calculations on something like that, there is a possibility, because they didn't get proper running with the wet weather, that they underestimated how much the tyres would wear down. And then they probably also have a line somewhere in the spreadsheet, we'll say, but we're not talking about Williams, so it's probably an actual program in Mercedes. But say in the spreadsheet, there's probably a line where they'd have X amount of pickup at the end of the race. And in that heat of the moment where he's talking about, quickly changing over to a one-stop strategy, maybe no one's kind of picked up on that in everything that's happening, which I can understand something like that being missed in a situation like that where you're making these split-second decisions.
But Alonso did the same thing. He did a one-stop.
And they were fine. But maybe their margins aren't as tight as, say, the Mercedes. So, they could be running really, really fine. Whereas Aston, because they got in trouble, but it was they didn't have enough fuel for a sample. Probably 2 years ago, I think it was with Seb in Hungary. And they only had, you need a kilo or a litre of fuel to do the samples at the end of the race for them to test that you're not running illegal fuel in that. And they had 950 mil in the tank. So he got excluded straight away because they were under. They didn't have enough fuel in the tank for the. So Aston may be a bit more cautious on something like that rather than let's run it. Maybe we have, an extra % in there just to cover off everything. Because apparently that was the problem, that they drained, or Mercedes had drained the fuel out of George's car. And then they're like, it's overweight. And then someone went, no, there's still fuel in this. And then they drained up. I heard it was 2.8 kilos of fuel out of the car. Now, I'm not sure if that is true that Mercedes had drained it too. So it was magically, an extra, what would that be? Another 2.8 kilos. That'd be 1.3 kilos overweight then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if Mercedes had, or there was 2.8 kilos of fuel left in the car at the end of the race. So, because I a lot of people have got hung up on this, like, oh, it's because he used more fuel and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, the cars are way dry at the end of the race. And the only exception is, say if he crashed into someone on the first lap and was missing a chunk off the front wing and then goes through scrutineering and they're like, hey, you're a kilo underweight. And then they get the front wing and weigh it and go, right, that front wing smash is, like 3 kilos or whatever. And then they get Lewis's front wing and weigh that and go, oh, that wing's 4 kilos. And then they go, okay, well, that's the kilo underweight that you are.
So do they know where the weight's gone missing?
Well, that's what they're suspecting with their calculations. It is that the tyres were worn down more. And then, then that's why the drivers will do the pickup thing on the cool-down lap to just ensure. Plus, it also helps because if you get the chunks, it raises the ride height as well. So it actually makes, when they do the ride height checks and that after the race, it actually makes it so that if you're very close to the limit, which it wouldn't happen much, but that Lego model that Josh did for me, that's actually sunk under the weight, like with the springs and that. And like when you get a brand new car, or you get the suspension done, it will settle down a little bit. So you'd imagine during the race that you might have it where it drops a tiny little bit. And then if the tyres are worn a little bit, you'd be pushing whereas if you get some pickup, that, those chunks can be quite thick, then that easily puts you up over on one of the tests.
Yeah, it just seems real strange that they've not, like you said, they've probably just had an Excel spreadsheet and they've read it very wrong, because it's weird also because normally you'd expect that to happen to both the team. They'd both be
but because you haven't had, like, Lewis had 2 stopped, so I'd say if you chuck the tyres on the scales, that you probably would be finding that slight difference in the weight between the sets of tyres.
Now, if you're Lewis, Dave, are you, one, very happy because you're like, well, I did 2 stops. I did everything everyone asked for, and then I won. But then deep down he's thinking, wait a minute, I'm not going in this car next year. I'm in the my car just finished 3rd and 6th. Like, where's my car? It didn't finish at a it
ended up on the podium, but it actually wasn't a bad weekend from Ferrari.
It was a great result for everyone that is not Red Bull, as I've seen it.
Well, even like he extended his championship lead.
Yeah, but the constructors, he did not. And
but then they've made the decision to hang on to the boat anchor for at least a few more races. So they've only got themselves to blame.
Well, no, and I think it's great, and I think it's going to be absolutely hilarious when Zach gets to walk around with a big trophy, because if I was him, I would literally carry it all of next year. I'd walk around and I'd walk up to Red Bull and be like, hey, Christian,
thanks.
Or if it's Christian's idea, he might not even be there next year because they're like, well, Christian, that was a big gamble. That didn't really work. How would you like to spend some time sitting on a yacht? I don't have a yacht. Well, you got plenty of time to go buy one. You and your mate can go be yacht buddies together because you've cost us a constructor's title. But the other thing is they're deliberately doing this so they come 2nd or 3rd and then get their wind tunnel time back.
Yeah, well, But then I'm not sure if you're getting enough wind tunnel time to justify losing the Constructors' Championship. If you were dropping back to like 5th or something, maybe.
Maybe they... So how much money do we think Slim's bringing in for Checo?
Oh, I mean, I've heard 30 million.
So you win 140 million for winning the constructors, right?
Yeah, what was that? 40.
140.
Oh yeah, probably.
So I would imagine, and I've also heard that Liberty Media told him not to because they need it for Mexico.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And Mexico's 6 races away.
Yeah,
there could be a lot of things that are over by then.
Yeah, I don't know if there's some other factors at play in the background there, where you might have. I mean, it gets people talking and stuff as well.
Well, Dave, here's my thought. I reckon. So who's the one that's backing Checo in the Red Bull camp? Because there's Helmut or Christian, right?
Yeah, so I think it's probably Christian, but then also the fight would probably then be because Helmut probably wants Lawson in the seat, where Christian probably wants Dan in the seat.
Or Dave, as they say, por qué nos dos? Just put Lawson in the RB seat for this year. Tell Dan that he's got the Red Bull seat for this year, and then we can do swip and swap next year.
Well, that's what I would have thought. I honestly thought that it was essentially Dan gets Checo's seat because Checo's not working regardless. We put Dan in there, and he's basically given the rest of the year to prove whether he deserves that Red Bull seat or not. Yep. Lawson into Toro Rosso, and then if Dan's not performing and Lawson's performing better than Yuki, well, Lawson gets promoted to the Red Bull seat, and we bring Hadjar up into Toro Rosso.
Yes.
Yeah. We've got Yuki's there.
Well, I think Dan.
I would have thought it would have been the logical. Then, if say Dan does an exceptional job and is finishes second to Max kind of thing, like he's there playing re-gunner, then you go, all right, well, you get the full next year while Lawson gets up to speed, and then that shift, like Hadjar is the Lawson next year, test and reserve or whatever, and then they all get shifted once Lawson's up to speed after 12 months. Or you're also probably looking at where Yuki will either move on.
Yuki probably leaves at this point because, as I said, it's a bit weird that Lawson and Hadjar both get put ahead of him and move on. From what it sounds like if Dan can finish up in his Red Bull car with Max, that would be he would be happy with that. He would finish where he started, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then he can.
I think. Well, even finishing where, like, he say even like this weekend, he finishes within say 5-10 seconds of Max, and then that's like it shows that the McLaren thing it went wrong at McLaren. It wasn't a career-defining thing. I just got to blow my nose, so I'll go on mute while Matt talks.
I will tell my theories, Dave. Helmut has allowed Christian to do this. Christian's like, we're going to keep Checo. Helmut's like, sure, you do that. But if it doesn't work, at the end of the year, your job is on the line. And then my prediction that Christian will be gone by the end of the year on my list of predictions, which I'm currently 3 from 13. I have to ask for some clarification, Dave. Okay. You've seen my list of Matradamus ideas.
I've got some written down somewhere.
Well, number 11 is big disqualification race this year. Are we accepting George being disqualified from first? That counts as a big disqualification, right?
I took the big disqualification race as multiple people getting disqualified.
Okay, so that can be worth half a point. I'm currently at half a point, so I'm 2.5 points in.
Okay.
And then answering some questions.
Yeah, we should probably answer them live. But
we should. Also, I can answer this because everyone wants Dan in the Red Bull, and Max and Dan can have their friendship back together again and make more videos.
Raw figures, which is a bit hard because they did stop him towards the end of the race, I think, to go for the fastest lap, which I'm not sure. Did he actually get the fastest lap in the end?
He ended up doing
So Dan was only 12 seconds behind in a greatly inferior car, where Checo started on the front row.
Checo started second and didn't finish in the podium.
Yeah, like if Max had started on the front row, he would have dominated that row. We wouldn't be talking about George getting disqualified from winning the race. Like
no,
George would. Everyone else would have only been playing for second in that race, and yet Sergio went from the front row to worst of the top 4 teams.
So that means, Dave, even when he gets an ideal starting position, he still can't convert it. Because normally, like Dan and Yuki did quite well, right? Like to gain positions.
Yeah. Well, Yuki went from 60th to 16th. So
and
impressive.
That's infinitely better than anyone on the field.
Yuki beat Logan and Hülkenberg. Poor Logan.
Poor Logan.
I kind of feel sorry for him, but I also don't. I'll go on it. Do you want a little side note? I heard about Logan today.
Uh-oh. Please tell.
Apparently, his manager's been ringing IndyCar teams.
Oh, that's cool.
Looking for a drive.
Yep.
And the manager has then said, how much are you willing to pay, Logan?
Oh, no.
And the teams have all turned around and said, no, we were wondering how much you were going to bring.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not in the position to ask for money. You can't.
Yeah, I think, like, when Marcus Ericsson came across, he knew, like, he's getting paid now in IndyCar. But he knew coming across, I need to bring a budget and pay for this car. Whereas Logan's like, I've been a Formula One driver. I should be paid.
But you're 21st out of 20 drivers. Look, you're not even in the real thing. You've scored 0 points. Like,
yeah. So
Matt, he's actually 20th. Valtteri is actually lower than him.
Well, technically he's 21st. Like him, the forgotten Chinaman. Like you can say you're 20th or 21st because he's slightly got better positions. But that's going to cost him a seat.
Yeah, so we won't be seeing Logan in IndyCar next year.
That's a shame. I actually do like Logan. I think Logan got screwed over, I think.
Oh, yeah. And if he'd come in like 10 years ago, it could have been totally different for him. Like, he's quite a reasonable driver, American. He's doing probably... And it's hard because Scott Speed, I mean, he got shafted a bit as well. But, yeah, he's probably doing a better job than what Scott Speed did.
I think the problem is with Williams, Dave, is you should have a driver like Fernando in Williams who's very experienced, who can tell you very quickly what's wrong with the car besides it's it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have 2 drivers, one that's a 10-year-old American kid who's, his first experience in a car is a car that's not very good. And then you've got someone else who's been screwed over by Red Bull booted him out. So he's sort of like, you need like a Fernando or even a Bottas or even bring Vettel back.
They've got Carlos next year.
Well, but that's what I mean. You should have kept Carlos and Sargent, and then together he can be like, "Hey, Sargent, what's wrong with the car? Here's what we're going to do. Here's some feedback."
Now they've one of the worst cars, is going to have probably one of the best driver lineups, because McLaren would have a better lineup, and it pains me a little bit, Ferrari.
Well, I think Ferrari is either going to do one of two things. Fantastic, and Lewis will win races. Or just absolute tire fire, and Lewis is going to be, like when you change jobs, Dave, and you've been in a job for like 10 years, and you turn up to your new job, and you're like, this job's promised me this, I'm going to be able to do that, I've got a new job title, everything's going to be great. And you're like, hey, guys, where's the coffee machine? They're like, oh, we don't have a coffee machine. What about the toaster? I normally have toast for breakfast. And they're like, we don't have a toaster. We've got eggs and an apple. And you're like, oh, no, why did I change? This has not gone well. Who's this guy? That's your teammate. I don't remember him at all.
I think the $50-odd million a year, though, might sway the. Oh, I can put up with an apple for breakfast if, yeah. In fact, I might bring my own toaster.
Yeah, I might just build myself a caravan. I think, though, the problem's going to be if Red Bull have obviously given up. They don't want constructors anymore. Max has just told them, no one cares about constructors. It's all about me, the Max constructor set. I just want to win. I don't even care about the constructors anymore, because
what also concerns me, though, like in the background, there is, with Mercedes getting stronger, there is the possibility that that's where Mercedes are at. Like, they can, at the moment, throw all their eggs in the Max basket, because they've always got Kimi Antonelli there as a backup if needed.
Yep.
Like, and if the worst of the worst happens, Max ends up at Mercedes next year, Red Bull have really backed themselves into a fucking corner, because then they've got Checo. And
number one Checo.
Seventh after George gets disqualified.
Yeah. The thing is, if Checo...
Red Bull was the best car on the weekend.
Technically.
Yeah.
Boovy is making a Ferrari car. We are trying wacky formats for the summer break, because Red Bull are trying stupid things. Why can't we try things that are clearly, obviously very questionable, and everyone's going to ask us questions about? Is this good for the brand? Probably not. Will it help you win stuff? Probably not. Is one or two of us holding Dave back to become better? Yes.
I'm enjoying it. What I liked was when he came off mute to correct you.
Yes.
So he's not only doing the Lego, but he's also paying attention to your.
He's clearly paying attention, which
is hard enough to pay attention to you on a consistent basis when you're not doing Lego. If it was me, I wouldn't be listening to you at all.
I mean, many people have tried.
Shall we go through the tipping for the weekend? Because it's something that's I don't think you'll be as happy as I am, will we?
Because Lewis won.
No, I actually didn't tip Lewis, but for the win.
I don't even remember who I tipped. I never do. And that's more fun.
With the disqualification, it did shuffle someone around. So you weren't the worst this week, E-Scooter. So shall we start off with the worst?
Yeah, let's start off with E-Scooter. Make me feel better that I am not the worst tonight. Second worst.
Okay.
Probably.
So the worst. Now, this person got a whopping 0 points this week.
No. Dave, you should get at the end of the year bonus points for just because then you can deliver anything. Yeah.
So Matt tipped Max, Lando, and George.
No. Actually, Dave, it worked. Remember I said the only reason I picked Max to win is he would deliberately not get on the podium and help the constructors title. So technically, I won the moral battle.
Oh, okay.
It's not worth any points, but in my mind, I've done well.
If that's the way. So then second worst, e-scooter and Buvy.
Nice.
Both only got 1 point for Lewis in second.
Jeez.
So, but also that I'll do the leaderboard at the end. Rob got 2 points for Piastri for the win, so that got him 1 point, and Hamilton in third, so 1 point for each of those. Dave had Lewis in third, which gave him 1 point, and Piastri in second, which gave him 5 after George was disqualified. So I was probably the most excited about George being disqualified because it moved one of my tips into the correct position.
Were you more just excited to see George get disqualified? Be honest.
It was pretty good. The thing was, because I watched the end of the race and then stopped it and went straight to work and didn't know anything that had gone on, even because I'd watched it. Because I went to work early on Monday, so this 6 o'clock, I finished watching the race and bang, and off to work I went. And then one of the guys at work came walking past me and he said something like, "Oh, fucking Instagram spoilers, George, rah, rah." And I'm like, "What was that?" And then someone said something and then "Oh, you better check, you better do a Google search or whatever." And I'm like, mm-hmm. And the headline story is George disqualified. And then people in the office, what are you so excited about? But then then it was Hamilton that won. So that kind of took a bit of the joy out of it.
It does, Dave, but yeah. I genuinely want to see Red Bull lose the constructors and I want to see the filming, like I said, when they get to Singapore and McLaren have taken the lead, I want them to do what they used to do with Lawson and Danny Rick, where they just move the camera to when Sergio crashes out in Q3 and he's sitting in the pits and they're like, "Oh, it's really tricky now. McLaren have a 30-point lead above Red Bull. Max is out there all alone," and then they cut to Perez and he's just looking at a computer screen, but he's like, "I know you can see me. I don't want to. Don't look at me. Just go away now. Go. I'll get some points."
I'm wearing a Red Bull shirt at the moment, and I want to see McLaren win the Constructors' Championship this year because
I really just want to see Zach get his head watermelon. Because if he wins it, he's decided he gets a seat at the big boy table.
The ego's going to be right up there.
Unbearable. And next year, he's just going to walk around and he'll be chatting to Ferrari and be like, hey guys, what are we talking about? "Oh, Zach, nothing." He goes, "Well, as the Constructor Championship, I would like to be a part of this conversation. What were we talking about? How unbearably annoying you are, Zach. Well, I have this giant trophy here. I carry it everywhere. Every race weekend, I take it out and I polish it a bit and go, hey, Toto, you can see your face in it."
So just back on the tipping, on the leaderboard, coming in last, we have Matt on 11 points.
Thank you.
Fourth, we have E-Scooter, who hasn't tipped as many rounds as Matt.
So I'm basically Logan Sargent and he's Behrman.
Yeah, pretty much. Cool. Then we have Buvy and Rob equals second on 19 points. And once again, I don't know how this works in this competition, but the person in control of it is leading on 30 points.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I didn't even have to cheat.
The power has corrupted you, Dave.
I seriously, considering how big a lead I have this year already, I really think we should have audited the results from last year. Because I reckon going off this cheating, something fishy was going on last year.
100%. Yeah, Buvy was winning last year. Very questionable.
Yeah. So then when Rob does it next year, when he's in charge next year and wins, we all know how it works.
And then I get in charge of 2026, the fun year.
Yeah, well, that's going to be really hard to predict.
No, that's why I'm going to win, because I'll just be saying outlandish nonsense and most of it will come true. Because no one will know anything. You got to think like me in 2026. None of this sensible thinking, Dave. All out the window.
Yeah.
You know what, E-Scooter? That's the spirit.
Yeah.
You know, McLaren didn't think they were going to win the Constructors' Championship, but then Christian Horner decided he's part of Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Zach asked him for, I
was going to say, technically you can still win. Realistically, you have no chance. While I'm in charge.
Oh.
What else have we got to cover off this week?
Well,
Alpine has got a new boss. That's someone.
Is everyone like switching around Alpine?
Everyone gets a shot at running Alpine, I think. So it's probably not really. Yeah, they'll probably, once they've sold the team, they'll probably get someone else to run it.
Zach's already where the Constructors is at Red Bull, isn't it? Like it'd be sitting in the Milton Keynes foyer.
Yeah, I think that's a perpetual one that then goes around. I think.
Do you think Zach just walks into the lobby and has a look and go, "Don't mind me, I'm just getting measurements for when I have to put it in my next to my car collection." See.
Just a funny story on that. Jimmy Vasser, who an IndyCar driver, anyway, he was remodeling his house just as he was becoming an IndyCar driver, and he measured the Borgwarner Trophy, that one that they get for winning the Indy 500. And the actual trophy to win the Indy 500, it's nearly a full-size person.
Oh, wow.
So he'd actually, which he never actually won the Indy 500, but the driver who wins each year will get like a replica that's about that, say it's 450 mil tall, say, like a reasonable kind of height. But the real trophy is about 1.5 meters tall.
Oh.
So then he's got this gap in his house or whatever, or in his office, that was like for a 1.5 meter high trophy that he was never going to get. Just on that, I think the optics on Flavio being actually in charge would be terrible. So I don't think they would actually do that.
Do you think they're going to follow him around when it's Singapore?
Flavio?
Yeah, just for laughs. Like anytime he gets on the radio?
Might not be the best place for him to turn up, just in case.
He might be busy?
Yeah. Maybe he has prior engagement that weekend. I think we might have lost Buvy. He might have given up on his Lego.
Oh, Buvy's quit.
This could be really fun. We could just end the stream now, and then he's failed the challenge.
He's failed the building the Ferrari challenge. Much like Ferrari strategy, he's just given up.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's returned.
He's always going to the funniest thing on the planet, Angus, because now
I lost the piece. I was trying to find that.
Oh.
But I had a spare, so it was okay.
I feel like either Sergio, Christian, or someone has done a sneaky deal with Zach and said, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if we did the greatest thing ever and we kept Sergio on so you guys would basically your championship to lose?"
Yeah.
I'm excited to see. Also, Dave, shall we have a quick pick? Because I'd like to speed it up.
Okay.
When do you think McLaren overtake Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship?
What's the point difference now?
The point difference is 41, or 42, I think.
Ooh, that's still going to take a few rounds. Because what have we got? Dutch, and I think Max will overcome any shortcomings and probably win the Dutch Grand Prix.
We've got Dutch, Italy, Azerbaijan, and then Singapore.
Yeah, so I think which your Red Bull stuck now until the end of Singapore with Checo.
Yeah.
So it'll be probably Singapore.
I'm going to still say that I reckon Singapore, it'll be a single digit either side.
Yeah, I think because McLaren will probably still score more points in the Dutch Grand Prix than what Red Bull will.
Well, it's unfair, Dave, because they've got two cars and Red Bull's only got one car. I mean...
That's the problem. I'm just trying to read comments.
Yeah, I never understood the mid-season swippity swaps. Like, it should be you picked a driver. You know, you picked Nick De Vries. He was your thing. You didn't pick well. Too bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, like your football teams that swap out players that are underperforming during the year and that. It's not something that happens that often, especially these days. It's just that the speculation's obviously there because I mean Checo's probably pretty lucky to get this seat in the first place because Red Bull had backed himself into a corner, and yeah, he needs to be replaced. But I don't know why they haven't done it.
Yeah, it's weird that because if this was the same mentality, they would have fired a corner at this point and said, "You're clearly doing half the job. Like, why is Checo not doing more?" But
you can see like you've got one car that is leading the championship, so they're obviously doing the right thing.
But the thing that blows my mind is either on one hand, if you've picked this driver, that's your driver. You pick him to the end of the year.
Yeah.
If that's because of it, too bad.
But most of the time, that's how it works, though, and because your contracts are there, The key in this one is that someone's not performing well enough that he's not meeting clauses in the contract regarding performance.
That's the thing that blows my mind. Even if half of the stuff that's been said is true and what you can see, if I was running Red Bull and I'm like, hey, remember last year at this point we were 87 gazillion points in front and we basically just did side missions for fun.
Yeah.
Now it's like Max does a side mission, loses, we get upset. One of your drivers isn't even bringing in, like each week they would bring in close to 40 points if it was a sprint weekend, because it would be like sprint 1 and 2, podium 1 and 2, fastest lap. There's 50 points. The next team score 27 or something. You're not even close.
Look at Rob worried about Checo's mental health. I mean, he hasn't given two shits about Dan for the last 3 years. This has been bagging about every weekend. But, someone says a bad word about Checo. I
kind of feel for Checo because every time you see him, he does look genuinely upset.
Yeah, I kind of feel sorry for him because he's been paid millions and millions of dollars to drive Formula 1 cars for a long period of time.
Part of me doesn't feel sorry because he's paid to drive, but he does have it. Like you watch all the Red Bull things, and you can tell Red Bull are like, Max, Dan, you two do a thing. What about me? Oh, I forgot you were here, Checo. Can you awkwardly stand in the corner as we make the two that we really want to be best friends, like drive a boat, and then when you're driving a boat, we don't care that you're driving a boat, and we'll make it real obvious that you're the third wheel?
If I was getting paid that kind of money and then didn't really have to do anything for it, though. I mean, you're pretty excited about your job, are you?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm happy to work.
And Checo's getting paid a lot more than you.
But you know what? Joke's on Checo. I work from home. So, Checo has to move around a lot more.
Which was the second time.
Yuki?
And, I wouldn't say Yuki's destroyed him. And who won a race for McLaren during that time?
Wait a minute. Dave, I know this one. Dave.
Yes, Matt.
It was Dan. Dan won a race. Was it in Italy? He got them their first 1-2 for ages.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
Because you know why I know this? Because Zach still got a tattoo that reminds everyone that he got a tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, but that was like a freakish. Dan just won it, and his teammate was behind him.
That's how he won, because he was first.
It's not like his teammate got taken out or anything. His teammate was just slower than him. He steps up to the big occasions.
Yeah. Remember when he said, for those who hadn't thought I'd left?
Yeah.
I think there should be a team where Dan and, say, I don't know, Bottas get to just drive around and just...
They should be driving for Apex. It'd probably be better storyline.
Do you want some Apex news? I have some breaking Apex news.
Wait a second. I'm pretty sure they were also behind. Even though they crashed into each other, they were behind, not winning that race.
Do you want to know who the driver of the day at Spa was?
Was it George?
No. You know who it was, Dave? No, not even close.
Who?
It was Brad Pitt. They put it on the Instagram page. Brad Pitt was the driver of the day. It is the most amazing Instagram account ever, Dave. I
still haven't followed it.
Oh, I do, because they post up. They do a good job, because they do free practice, the qualifyings, the race. They have sprint races. They give they have footage of Brad Pitt talking to George Russell. I don't know what, but they've obviously made it look like, Brad Pitt's obviously talking to him, going, "Hey, don't forget, pick up 1.5 kilos of weight in your back wheel." And George's like, "I forgot."
If only you went faster in the corners.
Yes. They celebrate people's birthdays as well. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Apparently they'd organised for Fernando, because you know how they're doing interviews in the pen during like races and whatever and filming them. Apparently at Silverstone, they'd organised with Alonso to be in the pen with Brad Pitt, and they have an exchange in the pen. But then Alonso made it into Q3 and fucked up all the plans, because they're like, "Oh yeah, Alonso will be here at 2:15 or whatever," and then "Where's Alonso?" And they're like, "He's still on the track. He's in qualifying. He hasn't been kicked out yet." And they're like, "But he was going to be here at 2:15 or whatever time it was." Apparently, it buggered up all their filming schedule.
I think E-Scooter's right. I think Brad Pitt's character, or Brad Pitt himself, didn't finish.
Was his car underweight and be disqualified, or was it actual?
I think it was. Here we go. I'm just checking now, but oh yeah, the other character came P3. Obviously, because George got.
Is Brad Pitt Sunny Hayes or is
yes? So
the other one
Sunny Hayes.
Yeah,
there's Sunny and Joshua. So Joshua is like Russell, and I think Sunny's more like Alonso.
Yeah,
and Brad Pitt got driver of the day in Belgium, even though he did not finish. Actually. Oh, wow, they really did. So Joshua finished P4, and then because George got disqualified, they've done a new picture, and he's been upgraded to P3. This is going to be the most amazing movie ever made.
I'm concerned in some respects and excited in others.
Oh, also, Dave, I checked today.
Yeah.
IMAX have already got it in the coming soon.
Oh, wow.
So as soon as I can, we'll book some tickets.
Yeah.
And we'll all go down.
Can we get movies onto bag 4?
Oh.
Can you get Apex Grand Prix merch?
That's an excellent idea.
If only we had someone.
Merch. No.
Just
really? Not yet?
Not yet. We will soon. You know what? Yeah. If we put away
because it's APX Grand Prix or something, isn't it?
Yes. APX GP F1.
Intensify.
And then if you do a search.
Maybe we can make backseat drivers merch with the APX GP Expensify. Is Expensify a real company or is it just a made up?
I think Expensify is actually a real company. Oh, that's a good question. I hope Brad Pitt does the coin trick. I also hope, Dave, do you think they will use the opportunity to do the greatest thing ever and race up and down the Vegas Strip?
I mean, they're supposed to not be doing ridiculous stuff like this, but going off the trailer or teaser or whatever you call it that they put out, where all the other teams, they just go fast in a straight line because they made drag cars. What we're going to do is be dangerous and go faster in the corners. That gives me visions that we're going to see them burn out of the track and chase each other down. It's through the Las Vegas desert.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that. We can just
it looks like Expensify is a proper something about a software company management systems for.
And is it true that it's an old F3 car that they've?
Their F2 cars have been built to look like Formula 1 cars, so they've put kind of more like an F1 body on them.
Because this movie seems amazing.
Yeah.
Now,
so they've got like Mercedes to put kind of some. I think it's like a proper Mercedes front wing and stuff on them.
Now, here we go, Dave. This is going to be no thinking. Just I'm going to say a driver, and you have to give me their mid-season review. But you can't think about it, and you don't have to justify it. It's just purely, and then the comments will obviously agree with you completely because everything you say is correct. So we'll start from the top. Max.
He's done all right so far.
You got to give him a grade.
A grade. B plus at the moment.
Yep. Lando.
B plus as well.
Charles.
C. It's been 2 up and down.
Oscar.
B plus as well.
I'd say Oscar B plus A minus even because he's
I think he's improving. Like he's definitely, say at the start of the year, you'd probably be talking about him as a C.
Yes.
But we've had some A performances from him, so you're probably in that B plus as well. Whereas Lando's performance have been better overall, but we expect better of him. Yeah.
All right, Carlos.
It's the same for everyone. Probably a B. Even though
Lewis?
he's been Lewis, like he started off shockingly, but last few rounds, and I'm not a Lewis fan at all. Yeah, but I like the last few rounds. Lewis has been A.
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
All right, here comes the big one. Number 7, Mexico, Sergio Perez. He must drive for a smaller team because he's at 7th.
At the start of the year, you would have said probably B plus, but it's an E.
Yeah, he's Inspector George.
He's only 8th because of the disqualification now, isn't he?
Correct. Yeah,
he was 6th or something, I think.
He would have gone up. Yeah, he would have gone up.
He really annoys the shit out of me these days.
He's annoying as.
The disqualification, not his fault in that. I'd B.
Fernando?
Considering Fernando's C.
Fernando's a C, yeah. Another oh god, it hurts just to say it. Lance Stroll just leaves a.
But then having said that, I say C minus. Because he's been a lot closer to Fernando.
But both of them
and they're in that no man's land kind of at the moment. So that's where they're expected to be. So now, middle of the road.
Well, this is an interesting one. Nico Hulkenberg.
But
because he had a flash of brilliance.
He's had like A plus peaks. But then there's other, and it is very like that Checo effect where in the Jet Force India, you have a flash here and there, you're a god. Chuck him in a Red Bull though, and nowhere. Oh, like Giancarlo Fisichella. You can have though like middle of the road team, absolute fucking peak. And then you chuck him in a Renault when Fernando's off winning the championship and he's second rate.
All right, next up is.
Well, I never gave him a grade, but I'm going to give him a C.
Yeah, that's it, right. Yuki?
Yeah. B minus, because the last few rounds he has been overshadowed.
Danny Rick.
A plus.
Correct.
No, what did I give Yuki? B minus.
Yeah.
I'll give Dan a B minus as well.
All right. Pierre Gasly.
C.
Kevin Magnussen. Now we're just getting to people that you don't even remember.
He can have a D because, he's getting overshadowed by Hulkenberg.
Esteban Ocon, who is...
C minus. I think I gave Gasly C, so, yeah.
Albon?
A B.
And then, yep.
I expect more, but yeah.
Our forgotten Chinaman?
C.
And Logan?
C.
And Bottas, probably
C minus because he should have at least, with his experience, he should have scraped a point somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, but I can understand Zhou not scoring, but Bottas, that's what he's employed for. He should have at least got a point somewhere.
Now, just to go back because that got flooded. What do we think of Carlos going to Williams? Hilarious, really good fun. It'll be great. And
one of the worst teams is going to have one of the best driver lineups. So is that complete, Booby?
No, not yet. I was just going to add.
Okay,
rumors about Lewin signing. They're actually signing Lewin.
Yes, it's doing a clock. How do we
third Australian?
That?
Yes.
Rob's worst nightmare. 3 Australians on the grid.
4 Australians.
Who's the 4th? Bottas. Well, actually, it's looking more and more like Bottas will be still with Audi next year because they haven't got science. So I think there's a bit like may as well leave Bottas in there.
So that means
inspiring.
So does that mean Australia has the equal most nationalities on the grid with Britain?
Who's the third?
George, Lewis, and Lando.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten.
You hate George that much, you just forget where he's from.
I genuinely forgot about Lewis. I'm like, right, they got George and Lando. I'm like, who's the fucking third one?
Look,
I'm
Lewis
like, Albon races under a tie. I'm like, where's he getting the third fucking Englishman from?
So that means we'll have 3 Australians next year.
No, because as Eastgate has just pointed out, the Bear Man.
Oh yeah, the Bear Man. I forgot.
Yeah,
I mean,
the forgotten Englishman.
So that means 7 of the 35% of the grid.
Don't forget Canada.
Canada don't count. Canada don't count for anything.
Is that just because it's lads, or?
Well, what was
in your lifetime, name a Canadian Formula 1 driver that you could really get behind?
Lance, no.
Poor fucking no. Canada.
Villeneuve, no. I mean, wait a minute. Canadian F1 drivers that I like. Here we go. Formula 1 drivers from Canada, Dave. I'm going to read them out to you.
Well, there's Villeneuve Senior, Gilles Villeneuve. That's someone who I could get behind. I'm honestly struggling to then think of.
Well, obviously, there's the GOAT. We can all get behind him.
Yeah, but I'm struggling to think of anyone prior Jack other than Gilles Villeneuve.
Well, there's a driver called Peter Ryan. He entered once.
Yeah, that's
Peter
fine.
Broker, Ernie DeVos, Al Pelez, Epi, Bill Brack, John Cordes, George Eaton, John Cannon. These have all had like 1 race each, by the way.
Which were all probably at the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yep. And then there's Villeneuve.
Yeah.
And then another Villeneuve. And then Alan Berg. And then there's the man that wants to become like likable, Jacques Villeneuve.
Yep.
And then there's Lance. And then there's the GOAT. I mean,
poor Canada.
Poor Canada indeed. And then there's Pierre Onfrez and Claude Van Damme. It's just Australian F1 drivers. Drivers from F. I'm going to read through the.
Well, wait. Can I try and name?
Well, I was going to say, you want to start from the very start, or you want to go backwards?
Well, you got Sir Jack Brabham.
Yep.
There was Tim Schenken.
Yep.
Larry Perkins.
Yep.
Alan Jones.
Correct.
David Brabham.
Yeah.
Mark Webber.
Yep.
Danny Rick.
Yep.
Soon to be doing.
Yep.
Oscar Pastry.
Yep.
Who am I missing?
You're actually missing a fair few.
Really?
Shall I read the ones that you've kind of missed?
Yeah.
Tony Glaze, 1952.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You had Jack Brabham. Paul England, he had one race.
Oh,
Ken
yeah,
Kavanagh, Frank
that's
Gardner,
one.
Paul Hawkins, Tim Shecken,
I said
David
Tim
Walker.
Shecken.
Oh, did you? Oh, then the rest of them, and Warwick Brown and Brian Maguire were the only ones that you missed.
Okay, there's a few there that yeah.
Well, Dave, their total amount of races wouldn't even eat 10. So.
Yeah. And Booby's finished.
Oh, look at that.
And we're at an hour.
An hour.
He told us he was going to do it. The crazy kid.
He's gone and done it.
Yeah. James Courtney tested a Formula One car. Lowndes never. The only Lowndes drove the McLaren at Bathurst. I think it was at the Grand Prix. Lowndes did drive a McLaren, but that was a lot later. Courtney tested, but he was in a big accident and never kind of recovered from it.
Hey, Dave, I've just done a check here. It's a list of F1 winners. Right? This is mainly for Rob because I just like to stir some shit up at the end of the day.
We've had quite a decent winning ratio with our drivers as well.
So Dave, where do you think Dan sits at the number of like most wins in F1? So Lewis is obviously number one with 105 wins. Schumacher number two. Where do you think Dan sits?
Dan to be somewhere in the 30s.
Correct, 37. Now, for Rob, I'm just going to keep scrolling. You tell me when Yuki would appear. I'm just going to slow it down. Just slowly scrolling. Still scrolling. Oh, wait, look. There's Oscar. Oscar's at number equal 80th. Just going to... Oh, I've run out. I've run out of... I've run out of space.
Mark Webber actually won more races than Villeneuve as well, didn't he?
Mark Webber won 9.
Yeah, I think Villeneuve won, was it 7?
Where is he? I can't even find Villeneuve. Oh, no, Jack Villeneuve won 11.
So close.
But Alan Jones won more than him, so, you know.
Jones's wasn't that high, though, was it?
12.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There's a question for you. I think he fails to get on that list.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm just having a look. I found him. He's in the Yuki corner of people that didn't win, but Rob will still defend. Wait, there's more of this page. Let me just scroll down even further. No, there's nothing there.
Yeah. He doesn't make the Formula One winners list?
I'll just search for Yuki. No, 0. 0 in the Yuki and 0 for Joss. Oh, wait a minute. I found a new wiki page. It's number of times you smacked your son across the head for not winning a race. Josh is up there number 1. 4,000 times, Dave. You're not going to believe it. Don't look for the page, but it's definitely there. There's definitely a page that says Josh may have hit Mac. And what was the one that he
we shouldn't actually joke about that because he probably has.
Well, yeah. Well, he stabbed the mechanic with a screwdriver or something, didn't he?
Probably.
Didn't Max say that at one of the comments? Like when they had a question, he jokingly said, he goes, "Oh yeah, at one stage, and my dad like stabbed the mechanic or something," and then laughed it off.
Well, he broke someone's skull at some point.
He said, "Yeah,
yeah, he's not."
I mean, you make fun of Lewis, but at least his family sounds quite nice.
I mean, Rob's delusional and whatnot. But when was Dan in the best car?
Oh, at 18, I believe he's trying to say.
Was that when he was in the Renault, or
was the Red Bull car the best car in 2018, or was that still the McLaren? I mean, the Mercedes.
Mercedes. By a long shot. It was day and night.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Dan's never been close to being in the best car. He's always won with inferior equipment.
Joss is he's a lot worse than a rude person. If you want to see something hilarious, look at him when Perez wins a race, and Joss is just furious that his son couldn't win.
You shouldn't. If you Google it, there is some interesting reading on some of the court cases and things like that.
He's not a man to look up to. Let's just say that.
No, it's
Lewis's dad, yes. Oscar's mum, 100%. She's the greatest parent on the grid. She's honestly the best person on the grid.
I think I need to start following her on Instagram.
Yes. He's based off Vin Diesel's dad from Fast and the Furious, just throwing spanners.
Yeah.
Oh, also, Dave, before we go, I had the experience of getting to watch Fast and the Furious 1 at lunchtime with my better half. Why she listened to me and why did we watch an hour of Fast and the Furious? I'll never know. Look, she married me. She knows what she's getting into. I've got a couple of questions that I still haven't had answered, or just things that I noticed. You remember Fast and the Furious 1, the classic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Couple of questions.
Roads closed, pizza boy.
Yeah, that was the director of the movie too. Vin Diesel owns a tuna sandwich shop in number 1. Where does it come from? Why do they never mention it again? What happens to it? It disappears halfway through the movie. It's that sandwich shop is basically Max Verstappen at a petrol station. It's left there and completely forgotten about.
I don't even remember that part.
Oh,
also ordering the tuna fish.
Yeah. Also, when they have a funeral for someone dies, everyone else wears all black. Vin Diesel doesn't. He just wears whatever he felt like wearing on the day.
They also can bring that person back 9 movies later.
Hey, spoilers! Not all of us have seen it.
Well, that wasn't the person who died, was it? That was a few movies later that they died, and then they magically came back in Fast and Furious 15 or whatever we're up to.
No, then they go to space. But yeah, there's just little things. I mean, there's the one where the rotary engine turns into a piston engine. There's danger to the manifold, and then the floorboard falls out. I'm not the most experienced car guy, Dave. The manifold does not live in the passenger's footwell. I mean, why did that fall out? What was
a high-performance manifold.
But why did the seat fall out, Dave? And then when it falls out, Vin Diesel gets into that car, and not once does he go, "Hey, Paul Walker, your car's a bit weird."
No
There's a big old hole in the bottom. I'm getting cold, like cold air's coming in, and I'm getting freezing here.
That's the cold air intake.
The funny part about the Fast and Furious movie, the first couple of ones and that, they actually hired a proper guy that knew cars, everything and all that. They're saying to source all the cars and everything. And then the writers come in with all these bullshit ideas, and the car guy's telling him it's not going to work. But the guy said, "Don't worry, it sounds cool. It sounds cool on paper, everything, that sort of stuff." But yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then my favorite one, Dave, is he uses all the NOS, right? In the race.
Yeah.
And then he gets told too early, and then he's like, "You never had your car." Then when they drive to what's his name? That really good, culturally sensitive name, Johnny Tran, comes along, shoots up the car, and the first thing they yell at is NOS, and then the car blows up in a NOS fire. Where did the NOS regenerate? Like, did it?
It's like regenerative braking.
Is it like Need for Speed? If you do a trick, it rebuilds in.
Yeah, you go through the gate and you get your NOS back. It was only like push to pass. He'd used it for that race, but now it's ready to go again.
We were watching this a couple of days ago, and I said, I need to remember these questions. Dave needs to know that I've watched this and I have many thoughts.
I was probably doing actual work.
For me, no. I'm answering questions.
No, me.
Oh, you are different. Okay.
While Matt was watching Fast and Furious at work,
eating dumplings. I was eating dumplings.
All right.
My office is near the kitchen.
Perfect. I think we've covered off everything for tonight. We've seen the Lego Ferrari get built.
What's Boovie building next week?
I'm not
I don't know, but we need bigger and better next week.
Yeah.
A better challenge.
Yeah.
No, the Boovie's on the McLaren I know is going to take me 4 hours.
Oh.
All right. If you need me to talk for 4 hours, I'll do it. Fine.
It looks like we're going to midnight.
Yep. We'll go all the way into the night if need be. But you know what? I will talk about all the Fast and the Furious movies for at least 3 of those hours. So buckle up.
And on that note,
I've already got one.
We'll see you next week.
See you all.
Bye.
Bye.